Hello, Zeteo here. Today we're going to be doing a replay cast from the Alpha Cup. I've decided to run through and solo cast, a bunch of later games. I'm not sure which ones were covered on the main stage. I totally forget, so I'm just going to do them all, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. But today we're looking at the round of 4. We're taking a look at Blodir and Zeteo playing on Arcasmat's Cats Valley. Sorry, it's a bit of an odd
Game
thing to say. But yeah, our game is starting, and at the bottom right here we have Blodir spawned as our blue Armada player. And at the top left we have Yanami, also known as Zeteo or UD, spawned as our red Armada player. Now this map is interesting in a way because there's this high ground that's like easily defendable, and then you have 3 paths towards your opponent. And if you want to get cheeky, sometimes like players will do a play where they spawn, like for example, blue could spawn up here, and that way he's really close to this position, knows where his opponent is probably going to be, and just can get out some early units to harass with. Or if you're doing like a bomber opener or something like that, you can do some crazy stuff with that. But yeah, in this game, people are just playing pretty standard. Zeteo and Blodir, a little bit more known for like macro plays, playing safely, doing only attacking when it's favorable, basically. When they know they can find damage, and then just really smartly holding back when they don't. That's certainly something that I see a lot of intermediary players, like they know how to put on the aggression, and they can really hurt some newer players early on, but then they run into this wall where their aggression is no longer working and people are defending pretty good, and then all those wrecks that fall because of the aggression go to the defender, and then they get into trouble later. Anyways, let's talk about this game. We got some ticks coming out here for Blodir, going with a fast construction turret. And it looks like no solar as an opener, so just relying on the winds. I'm not sure how good the wind was before, but it's looking pretty good right now. Wind can dip down to 2, so we'll have to see if he adds on solar later. Zeteo here opening with a single solar. Same thing with the con turret, pretty early. And yeah, just opening with a couple of cons here. Not many units. Resbot 2 cons as his first, units out of the lab here. Blodir has produced a couple ticks that are going across the map here. And then, going into a lot of pawns here. So just 1 con as an opener. Looks like he's going to use his commander to expand towards the north. Second con, or the first con going to the south here. And by the way, there is some metal reclaim on this map. Blodir instead going for the trees, as he kind of needs the energy at the moment, and already has a bit of metal, so going for the trees first, going for the metal a little bit later. Looks like Zeteo kind of doing the same thing, going for mostly energy at first, and then going for rocks afterwards. There's those 6 scouts got picked off here, and wow, actually Zeteo already looking to reclaim his solar. I don't know if that's the best time to do it, as the wind economy kind of crashes a little bit. A little bit unfortunate. But yeah, maybe he can send his resbot out to get some trees or something like that. Actually, he's got a couple of resbots out now. But yeah, I think the double con opener on this map is going to favor Zeteo. Blodir, with only 1 con to start with, he's still missing this mechs here. And he's a little bit slower on getting this con over to these mechs. So Zeteo taking a bit of an early lead here in terms of metal economy. Just has a bit banked up. But yeah, it looks like they've kind of evened out with the slightly faster com walk of Blodir. And yeah, this map's so defensible early on because of the high ground, because there's really only 3 ways in. Not only in the center of the map is it 3 ways, but there's 3 ways into the main base. So it's just something to note, so that it's fairly defensible. And it's in the corner, so even more defensible. But anyways, 4 pawns get in here. Looks like he takes out a mechs. Takes out, I think that's a wind turbine and the radar. So this is going to be annoying, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. He is leaving these wrecks behind, so, you know, that certainly is going to help the defender a little bit in their times of need. Yeah, it looks like 2 guys making wind turbines. I feel like that's pretty standard for Chisato or for Yanami here. It's just like doing a lot of wind. In fact, even favoring wind on maps like flats and forests where the wind is much, much lower than this. Trying to eke out just little bits of, you know, economic superiority by, you know, doing wind instead of solar. You know, even when the wind's not like substantially, you know, it isn't like really that great. Yeah, it looks like Blodir's kind of needs to play catch up with the energy. A little bit late on that, but knowing Chisato, he's probably going to convert some of this. First storage goes up for Chisato. I really want to say Yanami, but I just know him as Chisato, so that's what I say. That's what I call him. I hope no one minds that. But yeah, these pawns easily cleaned up from the light laser tower. And yeah, just little skirmishes in the middle of the map here. I mean, Blodir certainly has more units coming out towards the middle here. Chisato favoring more cons. And I think that's pretty reasonable on this map. I mean, you think about like it's like basically always cross positions. The map's quite large. I believe it's a 16 by 16, but I could be wrong. And then yeah, just spawning the absolute like corners of the map instead of elsewhere. But yeah, some pretty good trades here for Blodir, but I mean those wrecks are on the side of Chisato. And so, I mean, those wrecks are basically going to go to him, right? So, I think this kind of favors Chisato for that reason as well. Yeah, taking engagements on your opponent's side of the map is pretty tricky. And I mean, if you can, running a res bot or something out here to just pick up that metal real quick so your opponent doesn't get it can be a really, really big deal. You know, 200 metal, 205, you know. That's 205 metal that you're getting, and you're also denying your opponent. So that actually translates into like a 410 metal difference. You know, which, you know, it's not like a ton of metal, but it's like enough to like offset damage you take. It's enough to, you know, add a couple of units to your army if you choose to resurrect them. You know, and that can certainly turn the tides of the game overall. Yeah, a bit more skirmishing in the middle here. Let's check out the bases. I don't see any funny plays or anything. Just basically pumping out of bot labs here. Towards the center, it looks like Blodir looking to maybe attack or maybe just apply pressure. It looks like Chisato decides to engage it from the points, noticing that he's not retreating. But yeah, now Blodir's taking a look. And yeah, that's certainly a nice little pick. Like little engagements like that can help out a lot. Like attacking the points of the line that's sitting idle is really nice. And even though Blodir had more units there, like, you know, this is basically going to trade evenly. And the wrecks are on Chisato's side. So certainly a good trade for Chisato. Over on the top center position here, you know, basically the same thing, but it looks like there's a lot more units from Blodir. I think he was looking to sandwich this army, but unfortunately the bottom part of it is elsewhere, and these units are well, I thought they were just going to get picked off for a lot easier, but, you know, I guess being a little AFK on that. Okay, so now the pawns are retreating, realizing like, okay, I can't really fight here, and that's just going to be more metal for my opponent. And yeah, the other group of pawns over here getting taken out as well. Chisato just doing a great job of you know, putting his units where they need to be. And as we zoom out here, we see Banshees coming out. Here comes the scout. Looks like, what is it, 5 Banshees coming out. And yeah, following it up with some fighters. He has a scout in the back. I believe he's going to be sending this forward as the Banshees get into, you know, into the view of Chisato. So Trying to show up as late as possible. And look at that. It looks like Chisato having air for himself. I'm not sure if, you know, like, how does he know? Like, did the Banshees just, like, accidentally show themselves over here or something like that? That might have been the case. But anyways, these Banshees coming in now, trying to do some damage. The fighter's out, looking to, you know, to defend here. But here comes the fighters of Blodir. You know, so Blodir picks that off. Looks like the Banshees are going to be just fine for now. Or at least, you know, some of them have survived. 3 to be exact. Meanwhile, at the bottom, there is a construction bot was taken out here as the Red Army pushes forward. But yeah, it seems like Chisato, you know, just didn't build enough air to deal with it quite yet. You know, I'm not sure if he's like what he could do is have the con turrets guard the air factory so that, you know, you're putting your build power on just the air factory, because right now they're flopping between ground and air. But moments of crisis, that's certainly something you can do. Another con going to be picked off here, and that's 2 cons that we've seen killed recently. Yeah, I don't think there would have been any others that were picked off there. Yeah, it's funny watching Banshees fight pawns. It's just like a pew pew battle of, you know, all these little stray bullets everywhere. But yeah, pawns can actually fight Banshees. They can shoot up. Same with grunts, they can shoot up. But yeah, Banshees don't deal a lot of damage, and pawns don't deal a lot of damage to air. So, you know, pawns come out ahead here, I guess. And there goes the Resbot. Yeah, it looks like Chisato's pulling ahead on economy. But, you know, Blodir's trying to do what they can, sending a group of units around the map. I'm not sure if they know that this is owned by Chisato, but it's unfortunate. They could, like, run down here or something. Bit of a trade here in the center by Blodir's base. And yeah, if we take a look at the big picture here, let's see, is anybody going T2? Looks like not yet. Not yet. Okay. Chisato grabbing the Geo soon. Looks like we already have the Geo for Blodir. You know, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, you know, the Geo timing on this map, like, when's pretty good. You can delay the Geo quite a bit because it does take a lot of resources to build up. Yeah, I mean, if you do it too early, you can certainly, like, screw yourself in terms of, like, it costs too much energy and you don't have that energy to build it. So getting a bit later is certainly, you know, just fine. And, you know, it's a nice static way to get energy instead of relying on the dynamic wind. But anyways, let's see. Is anybody going T2? Looks like no. They're just going vehicles for Blodir. And, okay, so we got a T2 over here for Chisato. Looking at the map, though, well, I mean, I feel like, you know, T2 can't... Whoa, there's bombers out, too. Okay, so Chisato doing a bombing as well. In fact, has kept his air lab still, I guess, just to produce fighters. I mean, I suppose at this point, you know, 86 metal income, you can support, like, you know, getting T2 with other stuff. It's going to be a little bit slower because some of that metal's going into air. But, you know, air is a little bit cheaper on the metal. Anyways, let's take a look at the point of view here as the bombers come in. I'm not sure what he knows. I'm not sure if these you know, units in the shadow are something that Chisato saw, or if we just see it because we're spectators. But either way, you know, some damage has gone down. I wouldn't say like a ton of damage. The Geo still stands, so like so energy income's not like terribly bad at this point. But certainly metal is rising. He is added on his own T2 lab at the same time during the bombing. So yeah, just adding on some cons, adding on some consoles, getting that T2 going. Going to be upgrading some mexes. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Chisato's base. Looks like he already has a couple mexes upgraded, working on his third, working on the AGEO, the advanced Geo, and that's certainly going to help out his energy income. But yeah, it looks like the map is pretty evenly split. I mean, I think a little bit more going to Chisato. And, you know, Chizato's definitely a player that's like, you know, like, look, I'm not going to stay too long. I'm going to go T1 pretty fast. You know, likes to go into the later game and just like eco up. Like, you know, it's playing it very, very safely in doing so. Yeah, Blodir, if he plays his cards right, since he has spent a little bit more on these units, you know, went T2 a little bit later, he should be looking to punish that a little bit at least, to push Chizato back, take some of this territory. I mean, he got a mech. He's going to get this tower. I feel like that's kind of a big cost. You know, fighting that commander kind of sucks. If he moved in a little bit earlier, it would have worked out for him a little bit better. But yeah, I think there's an interesting like notion of like, if my opponent goes T2, should I go T2 now? And to that, I would say like, yeah, you can, but you're going to be T2 slower, right? Because they just have it sooner. I mean, Blodir, don't get me wrong, did a great job getting that T2 rather quickly, reclaiming his labs and stuff like that. But at the same time, I kind of feel like there's a bit of a missed opportunity. You know, it's kind of hard for T2 units to get to places to defend everything at once, right? So, I mean, what would happen if you just cranked out a few more T1 units and then went T2? You can pressure with the T1, get places, you know, destroy some of these, you know, expansions around the map where it's harder for T2 to get there, especially since Chizato's gone with, you know, he's armed and he's bots. So, like, you know, what do you even use to get over there? You know, sprinters can work. They can get places, but they're pretty weak in a way. You know, you kind of need a whole bunch of sprinters to get through. But yeah, Chizato, meanwhile, has been producing some fighters. You know, the game's kind of slowed down because of the T2 transition. And yeah, Chizato just playing really safe with the fighters sitting at his base. I wonder if he's reclaimed his lab. Yeah, he sold the T1 air lab, sold the T2 air lab, or T2 T2 bot lab, and it's now going Armada air lab T2. So I find this to be a fascinating choice here. I mean, he's seeing Jaguars. So, I mean, Jaguars do have anti-air. Okay, going into atomic bombers with the Liche. But yeah, I think that just allows Blodir to like just go after some of these expansions. You know, Chizato is in a better position financially. You know, but if Blodir wants to, he can certainly like produce some units and go after some of these you know, mechs around the map. But yeah, these Jags get caught by the welders finally, as the welders get up here or catch up to them. Sorry, mincing my words a little bit today. But yeah, I guess one Jag even gets to survive out of that. Welders, of course, rather beefy, slow units. Same kind of attack as the Jag, you know, just lightning. But they're so slow and whatnot. They're better in like actual fighting instead of, or I should say, fighting and tanking damage, not trying to get places to defend. So, a bit of a strange choice, but at the same time, like if he's producing a bunch of these power units, he can kind of just like use a couple to shut down a region, right? So he has these welders pushing forward from this bottom section. He has Centurions guarding the center so that hopefully he doesn't just get overrun. And oh my god, the atomic bomber going after the lab. He destroys the lab. But yeah, there's plenty of anti-air, it looks like, on the grounds from Blodir, so he doesn't lose much else there. But the lab is certainly a big deal, being a lot of metal. But yeah, you can even see the numbers here. Blodir lost 2,200 metal. Or, I'm sorry, Yanami lost that much money in the atomic bomber. And, you know, here the lab died for 3,500. So, you know, this certainly was a little bit better of a trade for Chizato there. But still, the atomic bomber is rather expensive. And I wonder if it would have been a cleaner choice just going for regular bombers. You know, being able to destroy other things as well. Because yeah, the atomic bomber, you know, it's a little bit like it doesn't have a lot of hit points considering its high cost. So a little bit easier to take out than like a whole mess of T2 bombers. But yeah, certainly an interesting play going for the atomic bomber. I don't see that in 1v1s very often. In fact, I could probably do... Well, I guess that doesn't show you the difference in army value. Yeah, a little bit bigger of an army value for Zeteo here. Cleaning that up. Got some metal to work with now. I wouldn't mind seeing some more res bots out, but I mean, you don't have a T1 lab at the moment. So yeah, it looks like, you know, just rebuilding a T2 vehicle lab instead of the T1 bot lab. I think this is a good choice because, you know, in a 1v1, you got so much space to cover. You kind of want faster units or, you know, things that can get to places a little bit quicker. And, you know, vehicles generally have a little bit more movement speed than bots, so they can get places. And also Jaguars are pretty fast and maybe a little bit more useful here than, what are they called? Sprinters. Oh, unfortunately, Zeteo not watching, runs right past the T2 bot and the consoles. So he might be circling back now that he has reinforcements. Yeah, okay, so this is going to get picked off. Consoles get away, they're a little bit faster. But yeah, doing, you know, some nice harass here on the right-hand side, taking out some T2 mexes. Whoop, I did not mean to click up there. And Bulls are out now, too. So yeah, Bulls, you know, definitely a bigger power unit. But yeah, same thing's kind of happening on the other side, where Zeteo's losing some T2 mexes. But yeah, also has some units in position to defend. So, you know, looking economically speaking, we probably have more T2 mexes upgraded for Zeteo than Blodir at this point. I think that's a correct count of 11. They're both the same race, so I can't double click and decipher the difference. Oof, keep grabbing blue mexes. Yeah, so way more T2 mexes for Zeteo. I think, you know, just having multiple constructors on it certainly helps a lot. Look at this radar here. This is such a good, smart radar. Probably planted with air cons. Just get over there, put down a radar like where it's hard to get to for your opponent, but allows you to see like some good stuff. I think that's a really, really helpful radar if he pays attention to it. Looks like tick spam coming out now for Zeteo. Tick spam and bulls. Probably going to be marching down once the bulls catch up to a position. Looks like he's going towards the center this time. I was thinking about the left hand, or the bottom side here, the bottom left, but instead going for middle. And yeah, I guess he's just gonna go for it. He's just gonna go forward, you know, see what see what's out here. Bit of a bull battle. Another C2 mex loss for Blodir. Okay, I see. So he's spamming, you know, the ticks down the center field. Meanwhile, also spamming ticks and having bulls down this side, the bottom side here. And yeah, I think that's just like, here's a whole bunch of stuff to deal with it. You know, I'm going to attack from two different directions with a whole bunch of units. You know, and either you are able to split your army properly or you can't. And so I think this is an interesting play. The Jaguars come up here, though, to the bottom. Going to be able to deal with the ticks, but the ticks at the center here, able to get through, take out a T1 mex here. Jaguar's now in position to shut it down. And yeah, Blodir definitely on the defensive footing at the moment. But yeah, I think at this points, Zeteo's just like out-ecoed Blodir to the point where he can continue ecoing and being you know, more ahead in terms of that, but also producing a lot of units. Oh, there's a top bomber at the top even. All this stuff going on. Yeah, even using it, an Oracle, a T2 radar plane to spot where stuff is. Sees there's a bunch of fighters. So yeah, he's probably not going to move his units that way. But yeah, he's just doing this like nice power play through the center here. It makes me wonder if he is adding on any energy. Okay, I guess he has a Aphis. The Aphis in a 1v1 here. Yeah, it might feel a little bit odd, but I mean, if you're, you know, once you get to Aphis economy, it's like you can kind of start supporting a lot of troops while also adding on some economy here and there. You know, that just puts so much pressure on your opponent, you know, while they're scrambling to catch up on economy, that it's really, really rough. But of course, you know, that only really works out if you're fairly ahead of your opponent, like Zeteo has been. It kind of makes me wonder a little bit if he's, you know, he's so used to 8v8s. You know, maybe he's just like, oh, you know, I'll just build an Aphis, no big deal. See if I can get away with it. Zeteo, known for, like, overbuilding tons and tons of Aphis. And not, like, winning the game when he should. But, I mean, you get some economy, you get even more economy, right? That's how you exponentially grow. And if you can do that better than your opponent, then, well, you're just gonna be way ahead and secure a win that way. Yeah, interesting use of atomic bombers in here too. I mean, I think they're definitely a little bit better against units than bombers are, than regular bombers, just because the explosion's so wide. You know, whereas regular bombers have a line explosion. But yeah, Blodir scrambling to get some fighters out for himself, but there's just a massive amount from Zeteo here. You know, and I think this is a really good, reasonable later game play out of Zeteo. You know, knowing that it's hard to push up this ramp. Like, sure, he can, like, send units out to the outskirts, pick off some mechs and stuff like that. But when it comes to actually destroying your opponent, air is kind of a big deal, right? Because, you know, pushing up these ramps is pretty difficult. Unless you have overwhelming odds. So, yeah, just relying a little bit more on air for the moment. A shredder out for, you know, Blodir picking off a lot of those fighters. But the atomic bombers have done so much damage that I'm not sure if he's going to be able to come back. Yeah, it looks like GG was called. And Zeteo takes the win for game number 1. Alright, so sit tight because we got 2 more games coming to you. Which I shouldn't have said, but apparently I said it. Wait, why isn't this one loading? Okay, there we go. Oh, I know why it's loading, because this one's still open, because I'm dunce. Okay, let's try this one more time. Load up this replay. But I apologize for the... You know what? I didn't say anything. Don't listen to me. But yeah, I'm not much for editing videos, so that's probably gonna stay in, to be honest. All right. So, anyways, we've loaded into our second map here. So this is game 2 between Blodir and Zeteo, also known as Yuri, also known as Yanami. And it's going to be played on Hades Pond.
Game started.
All right, let's take a look here. So at the bottom right, we have Blodir, once again, as our Armada player. And at the top left, we have Yanami playing as our Armada player. Now, the spawn positioning here is kind of interesting. I mean, there is certainly a lot of different ways you can spawn on this map. The spawn box is kind of going like this, I believe, if I remember correctly. But yeah, if you think about these like starting locations, there's like a forward position you can take. There's a back position you can take. You know, back corner position is a little bit more defensible, mainly because there's the high ground, but also because there's only 2 ways into that base. And so you can like shut down early aggression pretty easily. Taking a forward base, though, gives you more opportunity to expand forward. You know, you can kind of like early on, you can kind of shut this down and shut like this area down with units. Like you put towers here, units here. Maybe you like, you know, either you're built here or you're built here. But yeah, once you get this like square kind of sectioned off, you can pretty safely expand behind here. And then with your commander movements, you know, either from this base and go this way or from this base and go that way and get to center pretty quickly. You can like, you know, set up some towers, shut this down or shut that down. Go for these 3.0 mexes in the middle. And then you have kind of like this safe haven, you know, position, you know, forward position that makes it hard for your opponents to run around to harass because of the longer distance, right? Yeah, I think plays like that are pretty nice, but they are challenging because at the moment, Blodir can be attacked from multiple locations, right? There could be a unit that runs up here, comes in the back, and then it's just hard to get radar coverage because the high ground stops the radar coverage, right? So you got to be really careful with this back position with the spawn that Blodir has. But yeah, let's take a look at Zeteo here. Taking kind of a middle of the road kind of, you know, starting base. You know, you can pretty easily shut this down, but it's not like as fast as if you spawned up there. But then also like a little bit closer towards the center. So, you know, really just a middle of the road kind of start here. Yeah, little bits of ticks going around. Just seeing what's going on. Looks like Blodir has opened with a lot of solar here. I wouldn't usually suggest a lot of solar to begin with, but at the same time, wind is kind of at this sweet spot where, like, wind is better than solar in terms of resources, but in terms of how long it takes to build, solar is better than winds. So I suppose opening up solar is a reasonable choice because it gets you started faster. Gets you started a little bit faster. It's really just a tiny little bit. I mean, I think they break even around 12 in terms of build time. But yeah, pawns out, taking some getting some kills in. Not too much going on in terms of that. But Blodir has already gained a bit of a economic lead, and I believe that's really just because of the solar. You know, a bit of a faster start, but that means he can't really lay down much pressure right now, right? Because he's spent so much money in solar, you know, has his commander out expanding already, not boosting much at his lab, you know, and, you know, has also produced quite a few cons. So really needing to, you know, rely on some good defensive posturing here. But he does have units across the map. They are getting picked off. They were seen by Zeteo there. So yeah, like I was saying before, you have to be careful with this back position. So but yeah, five ticks here coming up to do some harassment. But yeah, some pawns being there to clean it up. He does lose the mexes, but he does have the con still alive. So that's a nice little plus there. You know, so you just got to rebuild them. Not a huge deal. In terms of something small like that, I would say that is a little bit better for Zeteo just because the mexes are more expensive in a way, and losing the ticks is really not that big a deal. But yeah, we'll see if he's able to... well, I mean, I guess he's already caught up with expansions here. You know, taking those 3 out certainly slows down Blodir. Yeah, just some tick-on-tick violence here. But yeah, not much damage on this side. Not too much damage on this side either. It looks like he, actually, I'm not sure if he shut down a mex there or not. But yeah, with so much metal going into those solar panels that, you know, I think Zeteo's able to kind of capitalize on that with all these cons. 5 cons just sitting at base right now. I mean, I guess he was using it to boost the lab, right? Looking to build a nano, but doesn't quite have the energy for it. Not quite the income for it. So this is going to be slowed down a little bit. And yeah, I wouldn't mind if I saw some of those cons go out to try to expand. But he does need to be careful. Because he's opened so many ticks, it really means that, you know, since Blodir's open with more pawns, Blodir should have more pawns out at this moment. You know, it takes, you know, it takes produce pretty fast, but they do take time. And that means you're not producing pawns. So, you know, was it worth it? I don't know. It's really hard to say at this, you know, at this stage because, you know, they cost so little that it's hard to feel the effects of it, right? And I think Zeteo kind of needed to slow down Blodir a little bit, so it's probably fine. As long as he can deal with this, right? But yeah, it looks like this tower's not going to be up in time. Pawn doing what it can, but yeah, it looks like Zeteo's going to be losing that con, losing the tower, and now pawns are in this backside here. It's kind of a big deal. Takes out a mech. Looks like, you know, there's pawns here for defense, but, okay. He chooses not to continue on, at least for now. There's a bit of a D-gun over here. Looks like he took out a couple pawns that way. But yeah, I mean... Yeah, so I'm curious about this at the top. I mean, Blodir, like, I think a lot of players would see like, oh, I broke the, you know, the defensive line. Let's continue on. But I think Blodir's such a player that he's, like, kind of assuming that there's going to be an LT or something here. And there just wasn't. You know, so instead of trading armies and then having a couple units left behind that would just get picked off by the LT, he's decided to retreat. It looks like he's going right back in now that Zeto's not paying attention. The units are moving away from that position. Yeah, so Zeteo probably feeling like he's safe when he's not. Maybe he thinks he picked off those units. Really smart play from Blodir here, just like, you know, retreating, saying like, okay, you're paying attention. I'm not going to worry about this right now. Let me just retreat. You got me. I'm getting out of here. And then coming right back in, saying like, nope, I'm going to come right back in. Take all your mechs away from you. It's a bit of engagement here at Zeto's front part of his base as well. But yeah, this is a big deal. These pawns getting in the back, taking out those mechs. Especially since they're naked mechs, it's not like he's losing pawns for it. A little bit of a micro decision here, putting down some labs in order to block the pawns, trying to keep that con safe. I mean, honestly, I think the labs build a little too slowly to actually protect much at all. But I don't know, maybe it's more effective than I think it is. Yeah, Blodir's got to be careful here. A little careful. Taking a pretty good trade, though. But there are going to be wrecks on Zeto's side here. But yeah, Blodir definitely, you know, doing pretty good on the metal income comparatively. Yeah, that hit in the back was such a big deal. And maybe, you know, having all these cons is a little too much. Bit of a scuffle there in the middle. Some of you might be wondering, like, is it better to go with constructors to assist your lab, or is it better to go nanos? And to that, I would say, you know, if you got the money for a nano, like a nano opener can be nice. But at the same time, the more cons you build, the faster you can, like, grow. And maybe your metal income isn't increased enough to fully utilize, you know, having a con turret that early. You know, so it's really up to you what you want. But having the cons is kind of nice because they provide a little bit of energy, and then later you can use them to expand and things like that. But yeah, it looks like Blodir has gone for an air lab once again pretty early on here. It's like the magic number for him is 5 Banshees. But this time, he went to route, did not get scouted, and Zeteo does not have an air lab. So these Banshees can potentially do quite a bit here. You know, he's just now adding on these anti-air bots, has some nettles going up. You know, but in terms of, you know, pressure, I think these Banshees can keep flying around and pressure different areas until a whole bunch of anti-airs up. And then it's hard to gauge, you know, how much anti-air do I really need? How much am I spending on this? You know, is it too much? You know, are the 5 Banshees going to be cheaper than the huge amount of anti-air I make? And I think these are all really good questions players need to ask themselves defending against this. Okay, so he does build an air lab, but yeah, just building ground anti-air in the meantime for now. But yeah, Scuffle's kind of all over the place. Yeah, little Scuffle at the bottom there, doing what they can. But yeah, Blodir just doing too good of a job with his pawns, and now Blitz is coming out. Got a vehicle lab. He's selling his air lab. So yeah, he's just going into the Blitz, or going into the Banshees, getting up a few of them. I mean, I think his intention is to keep them alive long enough to like pressure various locations. You know, and with that, you know, pumping out a bunch of vehicles afterward, after Jizato's forced to make a whole bunch of anti-air, and or lose a bunch of mexes. So, you know, this can be a really strong play. Yeah, we see a lot of metal jumping back and forth as things get resurrected or you know, reclaimed, I should say. But yeah, it's curious to me that it's jumping so wildly. I'm not 100% sure why. So I feel like there aren't enough resbots out to like make it jump that hard. So I don't really know. Oh, okay. So yeah, looks like Blodir here has gone for a T2 lab. Does Chisato have a T2 lab? No. So Chisato's still on T1. The T2 first for Blodir. Looks like he's just going straight into upgrading mexes and then producing some Jaguars behind it. It has some money saved up here. Big engagement on the bottom left here. Chisato moving forward. He has Blitzes in tow. Going to be able to clean this up pretty well. And yeah, I wonder if he has a bunch of resbots. It looks like not really. He's got like one out. So he can't really pick this up too quickly. But yeah, another attack at the top here, but that's going to be shut down pretty easily. And yeah, this is a big open space. This is a big, you know, hole in Chisato's base here. You know, this is a lot of pressure. So I don't know. I think that early situation at the top left there, losing those mexes for Chisato has put him in a terrible position. You know, and then the air transition making, you know, forcing anti-air out of Chisato, and then pushing directly with vehicles with a big show of force, and then after that just selling the lab going T2. I think it's just putting so much pressure in so many different ways that it's really hard for Chisato to deal with. But Blodir actually being rather aggressive here. Pushes in here. I don't know. This, you know, quite a defended position. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm used to seeing Blodir like go in there, attack, fall back, you know, not overcommit too hard. Another Scuffle here at the top, but looks like it's basically even. Yeah, basically dead even. As this gets picked off, you know, this is 0 if you combine it together, so extremely even. But yeah, the T2 is certainly going to help him out here. Like it's like taking your advantage and running with it, right? You know, when you have that many units out on the map, able to defend, able to attack even, you know, it's a little bit safer to go T2. But I do wonder about his commitment to attacking that location at the top. You know, I think his commitment was a little too committed. Maybe needed to like back out once he saw how many units were in that position to defend it. But yeah, Jaguars are out now. So Chisato definitely knows that there's T2 out. His own T2 lab just finished. Has a, you know, a T2 con of his own, looking to produce a fusion. And, you know, I see players all the time just blindly make this fusion right after the T2 lab's done. And then to that I would say, you know, make sure that you have enough to deal with the forces that they have. You know, you want to like keep your opponent in check. You want to keep like poking at them and seeing what their army is, seeing what returns out of that. You know, maybe they don't have much. Maybe you can be aggressive. You know, maybe, you know, since you're building a fusion, you want to beat, you know, you want to play defensively, but you don't really want to make it if they have a ton of units coming towards your base. So you got to be really, really careful. But yeah, let's take a look at the economy here. All right, so 4th mech's being upgraded. Fusion's already done. Meanwhile, Chisato, fusion is now finished. Just now working on his 1st mechs. You know, so the economy swinging wildly right now, but you know, I think it's a little bit more in favor for Blodir with those mexes. Yeah, I mean, and that might seem obvious, but in some cases, like, there can be enough T1 mexes out that it offsets the number of T2 mexes. You know, and then of course there's like conversion and stuff like that, so there's a lot to consider. Still lots of solar here. Okay, it looks like he is going to be reclaiming them. Once you have a fusion out, you don't really need the solar anymore. Fusion makes so much more, you know, generally makes more than you actually need. But yeah, the game's going to slow down a little bit with the T2 transitions. And then, yeah, just little, you know, poking here and there with the Jaguars. And yeah, even this Jaguars... Oh, I guess he's not going to be able to kill these 2 cons. Chisato too fast. Another 5 coming down the line here. Yeah, I like the little bits of poking with just a few units. Like, not making like 20 Jags and running them down one spot. Like, instead, you know, producing like a small handful, maybe a little less, going in various locations, splitting them up quite a bit. And then you can also do like things like this if you really want to. Like, I think part of why, you know, why Blodir has decided to do this is because he knows that there's a bunch of pawns here. He knows that like this can handle that pretty easily. So, you know, if he can effectively take down a group of pawns because he has Jags, like, he should go for it, right? So, maybe just having you know, some extra Jags to make sure it goes down rather efficiently. But also knowing that, like, this is the area where he broke through, so there's not that much defense at the moment. Uh-oh. Chisato has set the self-destruction countdown, detonates his own energy storage there. I think he was, you know, assuming that, you know, Blodir was going to come down here, but decided to go up there for a minute, comes back down, realizes, oh, the E-storage is gone. What the heck? But, unfortunately, Chisato did not turn that off. I mean, it's really not a big deal. He didn't really, you know, he's going to lose that stuff anyways. But yeah, those E-storages are definitely a ticking time bomb if you want them to be. Could have potentially, you know, done quite a bit of damage to this army. Bull's coming out now. You know, and Bull's, of course, you know, a bit more efficient in actual fighting. Jaguar's a little bit more known for their, you know, run along the sides because they're a bit faster. Do some raiding with them. But yeah, this is a sizable force for Chisato to deal with. Yeah, okay, so the metal's finally not jumping and definitely favors favors Blodir, but not as much as you might think. I mean, it favors it quite a bit, actually. I don't know what I was just saying. Don't mind me, I'm just a bumbling fool. But anyways, yeah, Chisato, you know, resorting to using his commander to degun, but unfortunately for him, there are some radar cars out here. And yeah, so like the commander cloaks, like it's not stealth, so it shows up on radar, but it does not show visibly. So yeah, trying to do some degunning, you know, knowing that, you know, there's probably no radar because it's at his base and there's not going to be static defenses of his opponents at his own base. But yeah, having the radar bots, you know, be able to see stuff like that is kind of a big deal. I mean, I suppose you never know if there's going to be like a spy bot or something that's going to EMP your forces. Or just, you know, having that bit of information, you know, being able to scout to see where the forces are so you can make more informed decisions. That's probably the bigger reason why, right? But yeah, Chisato here actually in a bit of trouble. You know, Chisato is the Season 4 champion. You know, so this is kind of a big deal. But, you know, Blodir's, you know, been with us a long time, has been playing a really good game too. But Zeteo is so good that it's always surprising when someone takes a game off them. They even said the Aphis blueprint. I mean, I don't know if you can really afford that. I think that's trying to get away with quite a bit too much. You know, in fact, I would definitely say another fusion here before Aphis, especially since you need the energy. Going air, going with the atomic bombers. I mean, that's a reasonable thing, I think. You know, Jaguars do have anti-air, but it's limited anti-air. And that might be a good way to just, like, do a bunch of damage on these advancing armies. I mean, I think they're a great unit defensively. You know, compared to other bombers, like, you know, regular bombers you don't really want to use defensively because it's really easy to bomb yourself. Yeah, now that this puppy's out, we'll see, I guess it's just going for it. It's just going forward for defense, but his base is going to be in shambles. I mean, I guess you go for the snipe here. You try to find the commander and snipe it. There's the radar playing out. But yeah, the fighters, I think, are probably going to deal with this. You know, T2 fighters are pretty useful against T1 fighters, but... oh, these are T2 fighters for Blodir as well. But yeah, I mean, ended. What can I say? You know, he did you know, he got kind of screwed at the top there. You know, that small little chunk of army running up there was kind of a big deal. And taking out those cons, I think there was like 2 cons up there plus all the mexes. It's kind of a lot, you know. But yeah, that's game 2, and that's all. That ties it up 1-1. Let's go to this. Let's go to this, and then we can start our game 3. You know, obviously this isn't live. I'm not gonna like try to make it sound like it's live when it's not. It's just me going back to cast some games. And because I enjoy casting, so like why not? Why not do a couple casts here and there? I'll probably, you know, I'll be continuing casting Beyonds doing this tournament, so just a heads up. I want to continue doing that. I want to continue doing analysis for players as a mentor. By the way, if you're a new player and you're having trouble, not sure how to get better, you know, join the Discord. If you're not, go into the Academy chats, and you can submit a replay within a thread and ping mentor, and we'll help you out. We'll get your reviews, review them for you, tell them what's up. You know, some mentors like to do it one-on-one, you know, so that they can answer questions as they go. Some mentors like to do a video, and then other times, you know, sometimes schedules don't work out or whatever, and we do like a text review. But either way, we'll definitely get to you. We get to basically everybody eventually. Did I? Yeah, I did put up the screen. I did put up the screen, but our game's started. So now we're playing on Circolata. Game 3. This is Blodir spawned at the bottom right as our blue Armada player. And at the top right, we have Zeteo, also known as Yanami, playing as a red Armada player. Circolata, one of my favorite maps. I think a lot of people love this map. I think it's a good size. I think, like, you know, in terms of terrain, like, it's just, like, perfect. The mexes are pretty big. There's lots of good wins. I think a lot of people enjoy having higher income potential. You can certainly open with a concert on this map. You know, simply because, you know, it's really easy to get a lot of metal pretty fast. And then the wind's so high that you don't need to build any solars, right? So, you know, I think this is going to be... Oh, I say that, but we already have a solar for Zeteo. And actually going vehicles here. Interesting. I definitely see... You know, I usually see more bot openers on this map. But yeah, I'm curious to see how he does this, because, you know, Incisor build time has gone down and pawn hit points has gone up. So, you know, I haven't really seen this matchup all that much since that patch. So I'm curious to see how this goes down. Blodir opening up with a con, actually 2 cons here. Is that a 3rd con afterwards? No. Okay, good. I was going to say 3 cons. That's crazy, man. 3 cons is too much. But yeah, Zeteo here, you know, building on cons, but also mixing in some scouts here. Zeteo, of course, known for having quite a few scouts to, you know, get some good information, but also not overbuilding them. So I think he's just doing like a bit of a mix, doing a bunch of scouts and then, you know, doing some constructors, maybe some more scouts. In fact, let me just check. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's just scouts first and then a bunch of incisors and then much later down the road, constructors. Looking to do more of a, you know, for every 10 incisors doing a constructor with it. But yeah, okay, so the tick sees that it's vehicle. Let's see how he responds. Ticks do pretty well against vehicle scouts, so you know, I think Zeteo overbuilding scouts a little bit just to like make sure he gets some good intel. Yeah, radar's positioned in the center of the base, just looking for a fast early radar. I think that's really important when it comes to these scouts because they can zoom around so quickly. You want to know where they are so you can properly defend your cons. And yeah, so far the defense has been stellar. Taking out all the scouts that they see. But yeah, I think this is, you know, there's been some discussion about like what are the best spawns on this map. You know, some people really favor, you know, Blodir's position, and if you think about it symmetrically, the opposite would be the top left. But Zeteo here spawned at the top right, so I mean, it is a bit of a different thing, right? You kind of have your two exposed mech areas that, you know, your opponent can get to pretty easily. Your base is a little bit safer though because of this ridge. You know, opposed to you know, Blodir's base here. He has this opening where he can send units out. This position back here though is further away from his opponent. You know, so as long as he defends along here, his opponent has to circumvent like this whole area and go around to the back. Because it is pretty easy to you know, put down like a tower here and put down a tower here eventually. So yeah, I think it's just preference on how you know, like to expand. And you know, which one gives you more comforts, I suppose. Because yeah, if your units are, for example, stationed here, it's hard to get to the back. They have to run all the way up here and then down here and then around. So, like, they can't just go straight on. You know, so it's just a different thing. You kind of need to decide, like, are you going to have units going this way or not? Or are you going directly to your opponent? But yeah, it looks like Zeteo here having a bit of struggle with his economy. Just now building a solar. Yeah, I mean, same thing on this side. I'm not sure if, I would assume that the wind died down at some point. You know, to make it so that they just don't have enough energy. But yeah, ideally you want to look, you know, you want to see that and react to that ASAP. But of course, there's a lot of other stuff going on, and it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on at the same time. But yeah, Zeteo has a nice forward position here. That's, you know, Blodir hasn't been able to exploit. If he can get that, you know, he has his tanks here too, so it's kind of hard for Blodir to pressure down that avenue because of the tanks. But yeah, the tanks are moving out of position here. These pawns certainly could be moving forward. Decides to split them up. Okay, so some of them are going forward. It looks like some of them going back. Actually, some of these are not going forward. They're just kind of chilling as defense on that position. But yeah, the rest of them going out towards the center. And it looks like Blodir is looking to capture the center mech's area. Now, if he's able to secure this, that's a big victory, right? Because that just kind of boxes Blodir, or sorry, boxes Zeteo in. And that just makes it for Zeteo has to go all the way around to deal any damage. But yeah, I think, you know, incisors, or I should just say vehicles in general, are seen as a little bit stronger than bots. You know, and incisors especially have a bit of range on pawns, so you got to be really careful as the pawn player that you're not sitting where the incisors are killing you without running forward to deal damage back. Which is what's going on right here. You're running forward, going to, you know, cross, getting some nice flank damage. I feel like he could have like stayed, but he decided to come back a little bit, just forward and back, so that he's, you know, making sure that they stay safe in case there was other units over there. Pretty reasonable thing to do. But yeah, incisors coming up this other side as well. Pick off that mechs, but Blodir pretty fast to respond to that as well. But yeah, both players just kind of sitting on a bunch of metal. Actually, Blodir now spending it. Yeah, it's a bit lower now. But yeah, lots of pawns. I mean, they are a little bit more energy dense than metal. So yeah, it's really curious to me that Chisato is just not like producing a whole bunch of tanks. Like, he really needs more energy and build power to really crank them out. And some of it too might just be him like trying to read the situation and make the right play before he spends a whole bunch of metal. I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to do too in a lot of cases. Like, just, you know, to save up a little bit of metal, say like, you know, do I see a lot of pawns right now? No. Okay, I don't need to spend on that right now. Maybe I can spend on a little bit more on economy. And just trying to make like the exact correct move instead of, you know, trying something and seeing how it goes. Yeah, lots of pawns out here from Blodir, but it's, you know, it's offset exactly basically by, you know, if we look at the army value here, it's basically equal to the incisors that are out. So yeah, I mean, I guess like maybe the other thing is like they're possibly like feeling it out and like seeing like, if I only produce these units and they only produce those units and I don't have to worry about them attacking, maybe I can go T2. Maybe we can stabilize the front in order to get T2. Ooh, looks like self-detonation? No, okay. LLT did not go off in time before it died. But yeah, LLT explosions when on self-D are quite large and, you know, quite damaging. Over 1,000 damage on the LLT. But yeah, it looks like these pawns just running up, coming down, taking out the forward position there, or forward defensive position. Nice little move to like get in and out while like checking to make sure that it's safe to kill that stuff. Incisors coming up on the left-hand side here, though. Blodir might lose some territory with those. But yeah, a bit of engagements here on the right. Yeah, it comes out for Chisato here. But yeah, the Rex are basically right there for Blodir to have. And, you know, he has bots, so he can utilize res bots. Pick up those incisors. Or reclaim them if he wants. But yeah, this attack has been somewhat parried. But I mean, 4 incisors isn't, you know, it's not a little bit. It's kind of a lot. They could press forward. Looks like they're going to be doing just that. Meanwhile, there are some incisors here. A little bit balled up. Looking to, you know, just doing some poking, I guess. Found a little bit of damage, but ultimately lost a little bit. Meanwhile, Khan gets picked off on the left there. And yeah, it looks like Blodir is sending his commander down here to kind of just choke up this area. You know, basically, like, deal with the incisors. But yeah, it looks like Blitz is out now for Chisato. So yeah, it looks like just, you know, vehicle transition. Both sides. I don't see anything crazy going down. Yeah, so yeah, lots of T1 units still. Yeah, Blodir doing a little bit of a better job spending his resources. But yeah, I think this is quite the uphill battle for Chisato. I mean, now that I glance at the metrics here on the side, like, it certainly favors him. Blodir doing a pretty good job spending his money, or was, I should say. Well, I guess, yeah, I guess it's Chisato that's spending a little bit better at this point. You know, but Blodir has so much more income to spend. You know, so many more mexes. He really needs to get even more wind turbines and such. Yeah, the new thing, by the way, when it comes to energy, in case anyone's wondering, you know, if you're doing a big wind economy, you get a lot of e-storages. You might be curious about when you see this, but that really just like lets you even out the wind so hard that your wind or your energy income is basically going to be the average. You know, if you're not gonna like run out unless you really need more wind turbines. You know, so Doing a lot of balancing with that. Chisato, meanwhile, just going the old way, just having one e-storage. And yeah, I think with that, you kind of have to overspend on, or you have to spend more on economy. And if you're going solar, like that is a big chunk of money, like 1,350 metal. Not doing that trick again. Trying to save the con. I don't think it's really worth the APM in that case. But yeah, this is just a ton of units. D-guns come out. This is an incline, so these vehicles are going to have trouble going up it. Good time to D-gun. And yeah, Blodir decides, I'm just going to not go up there right now, because that's kind of crazy. Too much of a funnel. D-guns can, of course, take this all out. Oh, he's going for it now. I think hoping that Chisato's not paying attention, but he is. A lot of blitzes go down, but just enough get through. He misses a couple D-guns, and he goes down. GG. That's game number 3 between Chisato and Blodir. What a play. Yeah, I like that. Just like, you know, like, you run up there, you see like, okay, there's D-guns, you know, let me just step back. Let me unfold my army so that's spread out and run up there, you know, in unison so that's, you know, hopefully we can take it. But it is a bit of a funnel. I think Chisato would have been maybe a little bit better placed if his commander was a little bit further back. I think it's more of a funnel. You know, if you think about like where the units can come from, it's this 90-degree bit here, whereas where his commander is, he has to think about a wider arc. So I think just taking a few steps back would have helped his D-guns out significantly there. But yeah, really well played here from Blodir. So anyways, that is the 3-game set. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Hopefully I didn't stumble over my words all that much. But yeah, I'm trying to like practice up with casting, you know, and hopefully not stumble as much over my words, and hopefully, you know, do a bit of analysis at the same time. So I hope you guys like learned something. I hope you found it interesting. Please comment below, you know, what you liked, what you disliked. I will for sure read it. And yeah, I'm signing out. I'll see you guys next time.